All right, we are live on Las Vegas Triathlon Club Facebook page. We are recording. I'm John Mercer, president of the Las Vegas Triathlon Club, and board member Bob Gambo, co-host. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
It's going fine. Trying to finally get ready for Christmas here. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. It's Thursday night and time to get another member spotlight. And I said, well, board member Bob Gamble, and we've got a longtime club member, Ashley Hall tonight, and he's been on the board. He's been helping with the club for a number of years, and so it's going to be fun to reminisce on that as well. But before we get too deep, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Bob for the official introduction.
Well, thank you, John, and welcome again, Ashley. And it's really good to have you on tonight because there are a ton of new folks, and you're one of the old guard here. You've been on in the club since 2011, so going on 10 years. And so everybody to get to know Ashley a little bit. He started doing triathlons when he was in 2010. Did the Lake Mead triathlon, and that got canceled the next year, and we're going to find out about that. But it's interesting to talk to Ashley because a lot of folks remember exactly how many triathlons they've done. And when I asked Ashley about his triathlons, he said, "Oh, I don't know. I do 6 to 10 a year, and for the last 10 years, that makes so he brings multiplication into the factor whenever you ask him about his triathlons." So I look forward to talking to Ashley tonight. Ashley's done everything, sprints, Olympic. His first race was an Olympic. Done 70.3s, ultra marathons and marathons. So with that being said, welcome, Ashley. How you doing?
Real well. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it was our pleasure. And you said your first triathlon was the Lake Mead triathlon, and that's something that again was canceled right after in 2011. So tell us about it. What is the Lake Mead triathlon, and what course does it do? You use the same course that it does now, or tell us about that triathlon?
Yeah, so I can't remember who owned it or who put it on in previous years. The participation wasn't real strong, so the next year they didn't continue it, and it was a later, like a mid-November kind of race, so the water's by then a little chilly, not bad, but doable. It was my first triathlon. I had just come off of the St. George Marathon, and so I wanted to do something with my fitness. It was my very first marathon, and so I trained all year for that marathon, and then it was over. I sort of felt like I need to do something else.
Hey, I got to do something with this. I'm fit, man. I got to work.
Yeah, I felt good.
See what I can do.
So I looked around and found this Lake Mead triathlon, and I thought, I swam 20 years ago. But
so you swam in your youth, right?
I swam a lot in my youth, yeah, competitively. Not club, but I swam in high school, and I was always a good swimmer. And so I figured, I could do this. And I had been riding my bike a little bit. And so they had an Olympic and a half distance. And so I didn't have any idea about the half. And I thought, it's probably too much. The Olympic, I can do that. It's like a mile swim. I could do that. I did that in Boy Scouts when I was like 12, right? So, and then swimming through high school, I could swim that. And then the bike ride, I didn't really have any serious bike. I seriously I was using a rusty giveaway bike from my backyard throughout my marathon training on my off days to just keep some fitness going.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used that. I mean, this thing had mountain bike tires. Half of the gears didn't work. It was a pretty rough bike.
And actually,
20
that's
give and take miles, but it was
that's
fun.
good. I'm glad you brought that up because it's like other people. We've got a whole lot of new folks in the club right now.
Yeah.
And
I didn't have a wetsuit. I didn't.
Oh gosh.
The only thing I knew the only thing I had was running shoes and running shorts. Beyond that, I didn't even know what a tri-kit was. I just swam in my shorts, my running shorts, and then got out and pedaled with my running shoes and my shorts. I think I threw on a shirt, and then the run. By the time I hit the run, I was feeling pretty good, but pretty tired,
Yeah.
and it was a very different experience than the marathon I had just finished.
Hmm.
It's different running off the bike.
Yeah, very different.
You know, it is so good for you to say that. Several things that you brought up. First of all, you used an old rusty bike. So it's like you don't need a tri bike when you do your first triathlon. A lot of folks are using just about anything. And you know, the wetsuit, yeah, you can do it without the wetsuit. You're tough and you were young. So that's good. And no, it's great that you got started with what you had at the time.
Yeah.
And you finished. And also I thought it's pretty impressive that your first triathlon was an Olympic. So
yeah,
it must have been tough too. So what was it like running off the bike? You probably hadn't really trained for that, had you?
No, I hadn't. I thought, I'm in pretty good running shape. And so I figured there was no transition, like difference between running versus running off a bike until I hit about like 2 miles into it. And then beyond that, it was like continuous cramping.
Oh,
And
yeah.
where it got worse and worse and worse. And the course, if you want to know the course out there, it basically very closely follows our club race. It goes a little further out. So you cross over into North Shore and down the
Right.
wash and up the wash and out a little ways. And I think if you do Rage, I think they go out that way. It's been a few years since I've done Rage, but I think they go out that way.
Yeah, and that makes it really hilly. Those are two steep hills
very hilly.
going down North Shore.
Yeah, very hilly. And then the
So
run course is and I think BBSC's races go toward the dam, and we went toward the water treatment facility. So we went up the road, and then out the trail, out the mountain loop trail toward the water treatment facility.
No, I know exactly where you went. Yeah. That's yeah, I mean, fun that you got indoctrinated into. I mean, it's good to hear. I know it wasn't fun at the time, but the fact that when you run off the bike, it's like, oh, I've already biked, 25 miles of hills.
Right.
So that's a good lesson.
Was the River Mountain Loop Trail in existence in 2011? I don't remember when that was built.
It was paved. I remember just running on a paved path, and I really wasn't into biking, and so I had never biked out there. But I remember running up the ramp, up the what we call up the road to the picnic area, and then running out toward the treatment facility. And there was a turnaround point there, just 3 miles out, 3 miles back.
Well, I'll tell you, that's 2011. It is amazing how everything's changed since 2011. Obviously, with the water level, but it's great that they continue to work on paths. All right, but I want to back up a little bit too. So you trained for this marathon. Was that your first marathon as well, or had you done other marathons?
That was my first marathon.
Oh wow!
For the previous year, we did, and I'd always been sort of a casual runner.
Yeah,
and I would get up and run 2 to 5 miles 4 days a week. I was never into track or cross country, but I needed to do something because I'm just like that. And so I always went to the gym or ran or did something. So I was already running 2 to 5 miles a day. And then a buddy of mine, he had ran a couple marathons, and he said, "Come on, you're a runner. Let's run this marathon." And I thought, all right, let's try it.
Oh, I
It
love
was a
it.
good
And so then you both did the marathon, and then you said, "Oh, I'll switch gears and do this triathlon thing."
Yeah.
Did he do did your friend do the triathlon with you?
No, he had done a triathlon before, but wasn't really into it and never really got into them.
No. Well, I love the fitness confidence. I think is so important, and I think that's a lot of people will enter triathlon and they'll be very fit, from whatever they're doing ahead of time to your first race. So, how much did you train specifically for the triathlon?
I swam 6 times.
I had a feeling your answer was going to be something like that.
Yeah.
And
So
and obviously not biking much on the rusty the
I
bike in
didn't,
the backyard.
besides like 2 days a week that I would bike like 20 miles,
Yeah,
I really didn't know how to train on a bike.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was just
Well, at least you did
out
20
there.
miles. I mean,
Yeah.
that's substantial.
All right.
It's not
So
like you went out and did a couple of 5 milers and say, yeah, I can do this.
and okay. So I want to sort of do this. We're going to jump around a little bit because I want to bookend this a little bit. So that's your entry into triathlon. Now you have a lot of experience in triathlon. What's your training look like when you're really training hard for a race now, or when you were really peaking out with your training? What's it look like?
Okay. So one interesting note on the swim, what I learned is that I don't swim very much,
Yeah.
like for training. Uh, I'll swim. I'll start swimming about. Personally, I think it's a waste of time for me to swim. Um, so I'll start swimming about say 6 weeks before a race,
Hmm.
and maybe get up to if it's a half. Uh, I'll feel good about 1,500
Hmm.
Okay.
2-3 days a week.
Yeah.
So
So what do
that's
you
sort of my.
start with? What is the range? What do you start with when you start swimming? And then what do you build up to 1500?
It takes a
So
little. It takes a few. It takes like a week before I can get up to say comfortably
Hmm.
going 1,000, and then I
hmm,
just keep it at like 1,000, 1,500. I feel like
Good.
if I go more, it's great, but it's like how much time do I want to spend? Then you're balancing time versus time during training. What do you want to spend time on? Your bike training, your running training, or your triathlon training? And then you have other priorities. You have kids, job, wife, girlfriend, other relationships.
yeah.
It's like, where do you want to spend your time? Where are you going to get the biggest bang for your buck? So over the years, I've spent more time focused on my bike than on anything else. And I actually specifically went out and found a coach, a triathlon coach, and she specifically guided me in bike because that
Hmm,
was like felt my weakest area, and
Hmm.
I didn't feel like I was really hitting the bike right.
Hmm.
I felt like I was missing something. So the
well,
coach really bringing that in really like fine tuned me
Well,
and
this,
got me
this
where I wanted to be.
Yeah, this is great to hear.
yeah, it
One,
is.
you've got some. You talked about having some swim background, and that's so important because I think you're spot on that you can swim. You found the minimum threshold to be effective in swimming, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good message for a lot of people is you don't find out that minimum that you need to do because you're right. It is a matter of balancing time.
Yeah.
And I love that how you got connected with the coach to help identify where your weaknesses. And it's interesting. I always thought of your background as being running, and obviously the marathon speaks to that.
Mhm.
But I didn't know about the swim background. So what does your bike training look like now compared to when you started and prepping for that first race?
So when I get real serious about doing a half, what I'll do is really lay out my bike training, and I try to hit 4 days a week
Hmm.
there. And I always shoot for one really long bike or a build up to a really long bike one day a
Mhm.
week where I'm doing 4 to 6 hours on the bike. It's not hard, it's just getting out there, just
Yep.
spinning your legs for 6 hours, right?
And that works everything else at the same time, and
And that
as far as your heart and
work-
lungs too.
yeah, that
Mhm.
works a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are hours that you just can't get anywhere else. And then my other bike training, I'll do like shorter, more intense, 5-minute interval, 8-minute interval,
Hmm.
10-minute, 20-minute. And it just sort of depends. I'll hit some hills, 3-minute to 5-minute hills, which really, really hit your watts. I mean,
Mhm.
you're doing these, and I'm 150 pounds, 160 now.
Yep.
Little,
Oh, you're
let the
packing
belly
on the
go,
pounds.
right? So, yeah, when you hit those hills, you're above 300. You're 3 to 350 on your watts. You know,
Mhm.
maybe 400, but I can't sustain 400 watts for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
So 300 watts, yeah, I can sustain that for 3 to 5 minutes, pretty good on some hills.
Mhm.
And if I do that 3 or 4 times, that's pretty good.
Mhm.
How much more do you want? You know, well, I'm not a pro, so you just need to build in some strength.
Mhm.
And hitting hills is a perfect way to do it.
That's
Hey,
great.
Ashley,
Low hills.
it is great. And I want to reemphasize for other folks who are listening. One of the things you mentioned, about swimming, and you want to emphasize the bike now. You can train swimming, and it takes a lot to say take 10 seconds per 100 off of your time. If you go from 2 minutes per 100 to down to 150
Mhm.
in a 1500 meter Olympic triathlon, that's only 2.5 minutes. And you
Yeah.
have to put in a boatload of work in order to get that down. So I think that's valuable for folks to hear, that you are doing enough swimming to keep you safe, and so that you can do it efficiently, but you're focusing on where the biggest bang for the buck is.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And so now I'm interested. All right. So your first race was, I'm sorry, was it 2010 or 2011?
2010
I
was
think 10.
Lake Mead.
10. Okay. All right. Yeah. See, I love this. You're not sure, and I love it because
I'm not
we're
sure.
getting older, so our memories are
Yeah.
fading. So I want you to tell us maybe some of the memorable moments of that very first race. Like when you think back to that first race, what are some thoughts that come to mind?
I remember getting to the buoy and saying, I'm in terrible swim shape. And I remember clinging to the buoy.
Oh, wow.
So I
Yeah,
thought to myself, okay,
yeah,
I've got a good swim background, but
yeah.
I need to really go back and really reteach myself how to swim. Open water swimming really threw me off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I was just going to ask. You probably hadn't practiced much open water, and it's different than being in a
Not
pool.
at all.
A whole
Not
lot
at all.
different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's
That's good to
certainly
hear.
a good memory or something to keep in mind. So what other memorable moments of that first race do you have when you think back to that?
I remember thinking my bike was crazy, uh, and looking at all the other guys like on their tri bikes and thinking, I'm an oddball here. Yeah, what am I doing here? But I'm going to do this and I'm going to finish and I'm going to get different tires, I thought.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Different
yeah.
tires.
Oh, yeah.
Just different tires for my hybrid bike is what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, you're probably making a buzzing sound going down the highway
Yeah,
with that.
Mhm.
I was.
All right,
Yeah.
so you finished that race, and the swim was obviously a little bit of an eye opener, and the bike, like you said, all the different gears that people or different gear people have. Um, but you finished, and you said, "I want to do this again."
Yeah. What was your next race there, Ashley?
So my next race was, I believe, was the club race in March.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And
And I
so
went to
then, so
the,
after doing that first race, you found the tri club at that
I
point, or
found a
did
tri
you?
club.
Okay.
Yep. A buddy of mine, Chris Armstrong, who whose kids or my kids, some of my kids' age,
Yep.
they all swam with BCH, and so he as a parent would show up, and I knew him, and he we got talking about triathlon stuff because Coach Bob is really,
Yep.
he was big into triathlon, and the swim coach over there at Whitney Ranch Pool. So between the two of them, they said, "Oh, you should join the Tri Club." I was like, "The Tri what? There's a club for this? Okay, let's do it." So I spent the whatever $60 I think it was for a family thing back then, and so I did it, and there was a club race, and I was excited, and went to the dinner and met some people, and
You got hooked.
then
And you beat me to it, John, and you were hooked.
yeah, it was a good group of people.
Yeah.
It was like, these are sort of my kind of people.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's really neat. Okay, so now over the years, like you said, you've done many, many races. All right, so I'm interested in thinking back in terms of what are some of your favorite courses to do or favorite race experiences?
So I really enjoyed the St. George race.
Mhm.
I used to do it every year. The last few years I didn't do it, but I really liked that course.
Yeah.
And was this a half?
Yeah, it's the half. I've never done the full.
Mhm.
I was trying to do the full during COVID because I actually won the spot from the Tri Club, and then
Yeah.
I was signed up for Mount Tremblant,
Tremblant.
Tremblant, Quebec, and then they canceled the race for COVID. And to be honest, I was a little bit. They bounced me around from like 3 different races, and then they said, "No, you can't do any of those. You have to do this one." I'm like, "Well, I can't do that one." So unfortunately, I didn't do it that year.
Mhm.
But
That's sick. So your favorite course is the 70.3 course
it's only
for St. George?
0.3, yeah, of
Okay.
course. St. George,
And
yeah.
it was the St. George 70.3 course? That's your favorite? You
I
must like
really
to
like
climb.
I like it. It's just everything about the race is just nice. It's
Yeah.
close to Vegas. The
Yeah.
scenery's fantastic. They've got a great crowd that comes out.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
All
I've
right.
done
So,
others. Oceanside is nice.
yeah.
I think the coming out of the bike off the bike to the swim to the bike is a little bit congested.
Mm-hmm.
At
I
Oceanside?
don't like it. Yeah, I mean, I did it, I think 3 years, but I probably won't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy some of the smaller races.
Well, you did real well in our club race. I mean, good grief, you had a 116 in the club
Races are
race.
fun. Yeah, they're fun. They're
Those are
relaxed.
fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
So now that you do sprints, you do Olympics, you've done halves. What is the distance that you really tend to gravitate towards?
Well, I like to race hard, but I'm feeling a little older now, so the sprints
Oh,
are
cry me a
short,
river.
but I don't I just can't get my run back down to like 5:30.
Yeah.
Like I like it, I can't. It's getting harder to get there. I can get the bike going and the swim's okay, but sprints are fun, but I just feel like I can't get my wheels going.
Mm-hmm.
So Olympics are fun.
Yeah.
I think Olympics and halves are where I enjoy more.
And what are you looking towards in 2022?
I haven't looked at any races, to be
Oh,
honest.
yeah.
I need to sit down and look at some races.
Yeah. Well, look at the club races.
I'll do some
John,
club
have you
races,
posted
yeah.
the club race schedule yet for the club?
I think
Yeah.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I put those on my calendar. I go out of town a lot for the summer, so we got a place up in Duck Creek, up in Utah. We go there a lot, so I don't always get to all the club races that I want to.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think this is also great for people to hear because a lot of times triathletes they schedule things out a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road,
Yeah.
and they just have it all, booked in and all this and I love it. You're just you still need to look at the races in 20, and that's fine. And not
Yeah.
everybody needs to have things laid out and planned. And so that's really a refreshing approach to here. So that's great.
It is, and it lets people know that this is kind of like for you, it's a lifestyle that you're ready for all the time. It's not like you're getting ready for specific races. You just say, this fits my schedule. I'm going to do it. So yeah, that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So now, in all the races that you've done, I'm curious as to what was your most surprising result, where you crossed the finish line and you're like, wow, can't believe I did that.
So I would say it would have been my 2017 Olympic. It
Hmm.
was I think they call it the Super Seal down in
Oh yeah,
Coronado.
yeah, right.
Yeah. So I really wanted to focus that year. And that was the year I switched to a coach, Angela Neath, and
Yep.
I told Angela, look, I got the swim down, I
Mhm.
got the run down. I really need, just tell me where I'm going wrong on this bike thing. And so she gave me a really solid plan, and I stuck by it. And when I finished, like I'll put it this way: when I finished, I went from the finish line to the medical tent.
Oh wow.
And what happened?
I just spent everything I had,
Yeah.
everything,
Oh,
everything. But it was the best race that I ever
oh,
did.
good.
I had an unbelievable, I think it was an hour and 1 or 2 minute bike,
Yeah.
which is really good for me.
That's great.
Like I've never biked that fast.
Hmm.
Holy crap.
But
That's like 24 miles an hour.
yeah, I know. It's a flat course, and then my run was just solid. It was really on. My run was I think I did a 38 or 39 minute.
Hmm.
And so I just turned everything on. It was just, I felt good. Everything was clicking.
And what do you attribute that to as far as, everything being in the zone?
It's hard to put my finger on exactly, but I think it has to do with very consistent training.
Ah,
I
yep.
did indoor and outdoor training for bike and run. Um, the coaching really helped. I did some altitude stuff, which it has a short effect, a short positive effect, not a long lasting.
I think
So
you nailed it with your with when you mentioned consistency.
consistency,
Hmm.
consistency is where it really was. I just consistently just kept at it.
I'm glad I actually benefit hearing that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, day in, day out, you gotta hit it. Okay, so we're coming in on the tail end of this. With all your years of experience, what are some great points to give to the new triathlete?
And we've got a bunch of them.
Advice I would give would be realistic in your goals.
Hmm.
Don't overtrain. I overtrained, and it sets you back. Be consistent. Don't be too hard on yourself. Take a break. Listen to your body.
All right, very good. That's
Yeah.
very, very good
If you
advice.
need to rest, rest. If you need to sleep, sleep.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
can't cheat. You can't cheat it.
That's
That's one thing that you can't do in triathlon. You can try to cheat sleep. You can try to cheat the system. You can try to cheat, but you know what? It'll come back and get you.
it's going to catch up to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really very valuable, and I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I love those too, and I'll even throw in one more that you gave earlier, which I like calling it minimum effective dose. If you can find that, then you can put that segment, sort of in your back pocket, and then work on the other parts that you're trying to build up. Okay, so one last part for me is talk a little bit about working with the club, because you got involved in helping setting up races and running events and things like that.
Yeah, I was on the board for a little bit there, and tried to help out where I could. I don't feel like I really contributed maybe enough, or
Hmm.
I don't know. You volunteer your time, and what time you got to give is what you have to give, right?
Yep.
So it's enjoyable. I like it. I would do it again. And there's times in our lives where we have maybe a little more free time to
Mhm.
give, and sometimes when we don't. And so I would say to people who have a little more time, the Tri Club's a great place to put some time to volunteer.
No, that's
It
great.
is. It
But
is.
I will say, no matter what the time is, even if you felt you only put a little bit of time in, it takes an army of people to really make the club work. And
Yeah,
so, whatever you can provide and do, it's important. And the
yeah,
work you did,
And it's very valuable.
I think when I got in the club, you were already in the club, and I saw you volunteering, and that's important. It's important to be part of the community
yeah,
and support it. So you've been a
yeah.
big part of that.
And I'd do it again. I just need to be asked.
All right.
I don't know
Oh,
where
I
to
heard that.
volunteer, so but I
Well,
can be asked, and I'll show up, and you can say, just stand over there and pass out water.
all right, Bob. Let's.
I got him.
All right.
I'll be in
It's
touch, Ashley.
All right, dude.
we're still recording, so we've got this down. Ashley,
Yeah,
and
you're
I
on the
don't doubt
record, dude.
it. And actually, I don't doubt it because, like I said, you've been a big part of the community and really growing the club at a real critical time. And so it's really been great. I'm glad you joined us tonight. I've really enjoyed hearing your background. I did not know the swimming. I always thought of you as a runner. And so this is great to hear a little bit more. And I love the rusty bike story.
Mhm.
That is the
Yep.
way to start. So
And
thank you.
I like swimming and running in your running shorts and hitting the bike in your running
Yeah,
shorts. I mean,
Yeah.
that's hardcore.
that's great. All right, Ashley, thanks so much for joining us. Great talking with you.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll see you, everybody.